All right, good afternoon, everyone. Happy, Tuesday today. Thank you so much for coming today to our SIRAS updates. We are super happy to have so many people today. I think I counted 165 of us today. So that's a great turnout. We're so thrilled to have Michael Brown here today from SIRAS. Personal friend of mine. I feel like we've gone through the war together, including all of you for the last year. And we've come out on the better end. So we're super excited to hear about the new changes that have occurred in SIRAS today. So just want to remind you of a couple things. Number one, if you prefer to have your video off, you are welcome to do so. This meeting is recorded, and it will be put on our new YouTube channel for the rest of the staff to see who have not been able to attend today. So whatever you say, whether it be if you unmute yourself, that will forever be out there in the Santa Barbara County world to hear. So please keep that in mind if you do unmute yourself. For today, we are going to really work hard at using our chat. So if you don't know where the chat is, it's somewhere. I'm going to look here. Mine is a little different than yours, but it looks like a little bubble with a little line coming out of it. So if you don't mind opening your chat, and please put your questions for Michael there. After each section that we go over, we will stop and we will pause, and I will be asking Michael the questions that are in the chat. And so we will use that for our question answer time. Also, please keep in mind that this is, again, a recorded training. If you are interested in any of our trainings, they are on our new YouTube channel, which is now going to be launched on our SELPA website. So if you've missed anything, that's where all of our recordings will be going, is on that YouTube channel for everyone to see. Again, I just really want to thank all of you for enduring a year of SIRAS. We've gotten through 1 year of SIRAS, and I believe we are doing very well as a county. And I just am so grateful to have Michael Brown here as our friend in SIRAS to help us along the way with our new changes. So Michael, take it away.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you, Jennifer. You guys have a YouTube channel. All right. So if I'm going to be on there, don't forget to like and subscribe to my videos so I can be the best one there. Do you guys get a prize for the one with the most likes? I don't know. We'll see. Okay. All right, we're going to get started here. There's a lot of changes that happened in SIRAS due to COVID-19. So there's a lot of new information I'm going to be going over. A lot has to do with the IEP process, some new forms, and some new ways of doing some things. The first thing that I'm going to go over is the homepage. I'm going to go to the live version because the training and the demo doesn't have this on there. But on the live SIRAS, you guys will see your Santa Barbara County SELPA has a newsletter here, and there's some good information there. It has a lot of information that we have as well, but I would like you to go and click on the SIRAS newsletter as well, and look at that. I'm going to be going over a lot of this information here: the steps to finishing an IEP, how to add a contact attempt, a continuation meeting, and the e-signatures. These are all the help documents that go along with what I'm going to be talking about today. So you guys can find these here, click on these links, and it'll give you support. And it has pictures, and I'll walk you through the entire thing of what I'm doing right now. Also, if you scroll down, it talks about form changes. It'll also give you general users prepare your caseload for the new year. It gives you tips on the things that you can do to prepare your caseload for this upcoming year. It also has, if you scroll down, there's this link here for admin users. We have this Padlet link. It's the padlet.com/SIRAS/SIRAS for admins. If you're an admin user, we have a lot of information here that you guys can click on this link, and there's help documents that we've created for you that can guide you through. I think one of them has to do with rollover and what to do with after rollover in the beginning of the year. So that's a good one to look at as well. But I just want to remind you that this is here. We have one every month, and it goes over all the new items and everything. We try to pack it full of all the new stuff and some old things that we want you to remember. But please look at this SIRAS newsletter on the homepage here. All right, so next on the homepage, if you scroll down a little bit further past that, we have these new tabs here. It used to be, this is a little bit newer. The tabs are newer than that. But we used to have just little links down here. We didn't have pictures or anything. This is a new little donut that we put in there for the student data overview. This is giving you information about your caseload or whatever view that you have. So right now, you see I'm in Hope Elementary. I have access to 117 records. And so this number up here reflects down here with the links and numbers that I have here. So if you're at a different district with different numbers, yours is going to look a little different than mine. If you have access to just your caseload, those numbers are only going to reflect your caseload. So the information would be valid for you. It'll be good information for you because you want to know about your caseload and the numbers on your caseload. So what this goes over is, in the green area, we have these, they're not overdue, but they're upcoming IEPs. So SIRAS has a warning for you built in that it'll tell you 30 days in advance of an IEP that's coming up and 75 days in advance of an evaluation. So you can click that link and find out which ones are upcoming for you. As well as this 9 upcoming annuals or triennials. We have here this link. The 38 overdue annual triennials in red, those are your overdue annuals. So we have this link down here as well. These are your 38 students with overdue annuals and triennials. If you want just all 38 students, you click on this link. If you just want overdue annuals, you'll click here. If you just want the overdue triennials, you'll click here. We also have 9 students with upcoming IEPs, IFSPs, and triennials. Again, you just click here and that'll bring up those students for you. Down here, important for admin users mostly, we have 9 records with pending status. So there's a difference between pending status and a pending IEP.
Oh wait, I want to be muted.
Okay. So the pending status, or let's go for the pending IEP, is when a student has, or a pending referral is when a student has an open initial evaluation. And so that's being determined whether or not they're eligible. They're pending eligibility. The pending status, this is usually the most recent transfers that you've had. This is important at the beginning of the school year because a lot of students transferred from one district to another. When a student transfers from one district to another, SIRAS will automatically make that student pending. And then as an admin, you'd have to go in and change the student to active once you verify that the student is enrolled in your district. All right, once you verify enrollment, then you can change it to active and you're all set. If the student never actually enrolls in your district, they're still pending, so no harm, no foul. The next tab I want to go over is this meetings tab. This is kind of just a basic quick look of what meetings you have, and you can kind of filter through with these little drop downs. And so in here we have, if you want to look at all of your meetings, we have them here. If you want to look at a meeting that is open, so maybe you open up an annual or a triennial, but you haven't checked meeting held. If you click here, these are those meetings that you'll be able to find. Open and held means that you opened up the meeting and you've checked meeting held. Open is both open not held and open and held. It's just an open meeting. It doesn't matter if it's checked held or not. Then you have your finalized meetings, and then your meetings that were finalized without being held. Those are the ones that we force finalized as unresolved. Okay. So I'll get more into the meetings table in a little bit, and I'll show you how to get more detail for that. The next one that I want to go over, I'll just show you this. If you're not an admin user, you don't have the transfers tab. These are students that transfer within your district. So if there's a transfer request, you can actually send the record over or cancel that record if somebody requested that record from another district. Also, we have the assignment request. This is also only for admins. These are, a general user has a way of requesting to assign a student or remove a student from their caseload, and it's a request that's sent to the admin. That request is sent on the homepage for the admin, and they can either approve or deny those requests. And then just quickly, we also have an incoming messages tab. And this will give you information. Cyrus kind of has a built-in message, a messaging email type thing that if you have access to the student, any student that you have access to, and something happens with the student, Cyrus will automatically send you a message. Let's say like the translator, check the box, translate complete. Anybody who has access to that student to where the translator check complete, you'll get a message on your homepage stating that, you know, this is the day that they completed it and who completed it and what student it was for and what time and all that stuff. It also will tell you if a parent has signed the signature request as well. Okay. So that was quickly our homepage. Again, if you guys go to the live version, this Cyrus newsletter, there's a lot of information here that will help you. We're coming out with another one in September. So in a couple weeks, probably we'll have it out. But just look for it. There's a lot of good information, and it'll help you out tremendously with support documents and everything as well. All right. I'm going to take a pause. Any questions on the homepage?
There's a question, is the assignment request tab on the homepage for requests from other SELPA users within county only?
Other SELPA user within county only. So this would be, I'm not too sure what that means, but what it is if you're a general user, you have this student info, manage caseloads, and you can request a student to be removed from your caseload, or you can request a new assignment. If basically you can search for the SSID, and if you find a matching record that's in your system, then you can request that. If you cannot find a matching record, then it would create a new student, and then that's what would show up on the homepage. Under assignment requests, you can see where it says new record. And then there's some that don't have that new record. Those are the existing records. But if it's a new record, what the administrator would do is before they actually create this student, they would search for that student in the transfer, and they would be able to search outside of the SELPA to see if that student is associated with anybody else. And if not, then that's when they create that record. I hope that makes sense, but the general users would just search for the kiddo, and then it would be up to the admin to know if they're within its different SELPA within Cyrus. Yes, we've been getting emails from other districts asking. Okay. All right. So if we're good for the homepage, then we can move on here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the training version. I created this student here, Charlie Morris. It's actually my granddaughter. So I just put her name in there just because. So I created an IEP for her and everything like that. But first, I want to go over, since the beginning of the year, everybody's been asking for those IEP at a glances. Okay, so I want to show you how to get to the IEP at a glance. So if you go to Tools, and then you go to Document Library, we have the IEP at a glance here. Now, if I just click on this now, it's going to open up and it's going to be blank. So what you need to do is where it says fill form for student Charlie Morris, if I check that box here, you notice it kind of changes a little bit. So we have the IEP at a glance. If you notice, this was a request sent from Santa Barbara, actually, that you guys wanted the goals to be attached to this IEP at a glance. So we've automatically checked that already for you. So if you don't want the goals appended, you can uncheck it. But if you do, you can check it, and then the goals will come up after the following page after the IEP at a glance. We also attach the behavior plan, and we also attach the emergency health plan, just in case you wanted those as well. So if you want those as well, you can check those. If not, you can leave them unchecked. I know people have been asking us for more information to be added here. We are hesitant to add any more than this, because if you're appending that much, this doesn't really turn into an IEP at a glance anymore. You might as well just give them the entire IEP if you're going to be attaching 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages. So we're leaving it down to this here. But what you would do next is you would click on download, and it's going to download it to your desktop here. Now if I save it here and I pull it up, it's going to pre-fill all the information for Miss Charlie Morris. And so it'll have the, well, if there was a case manager assigned, I didn't assign a case manager. It would have the case manager's name, the parent name. I didn't enter in, there was some information I didn't quite enter in all of it. But it has the EL, she's EO. There's a BIP, it says yes. I'll go over that in just a minute, why it says yes. So does ESY. It gives you the instructional accommodations right here, the classroom accommodations. It gives you the list of services here, and low incidents, supplemental agents, transportations, and the general health. And I don't have any goals, so I didn't attach those. But that's basically the IEP at a glance for you guys there. If you guys have any issues with it, just let me know and we can work it out for you. So the next one that I want to go to is, let's go to her IEP. So I'm not going to go through the IEP process per se. I already filled out a lot of the forms already. You guys should mostly know how to fill out the forms now. You guys have been doing it for quite a while, over a year, I think now. So I'm not going to go over each form. So I pre-filled some of these forms, but there's some that I would like to go over with you. If you notice this first one, this is a big issue here. We have this behavior intervention plan, and it's required. And what a lot of people tell me is, why is it required? It's not supposed to be required. They don't have a behavior intervention plan. So the way to get rid of this is that if you go to the demographic form at the very top, if you scroll down, you have these questions here at the very bottom, these additional factor questions. And what a lot of people do is they click yes for this one that says student exhibits behavior that requires a behavior intervention plan. And they don't realize they click yes. And so if you want to get rid of, so you don't want it to be required, you have to click no, save and return. And then when you go back to the IEP, look, those behavior intervention plans now are optional. Okay. All right. The extended school year services. Again, this says required. This does not show up unless on the ESY eligibility worksheet, when you open up this worksheet here, if you notice on number 5, it says, does the student require to continue to achieve at the level of independence that expected to view in the student's disabling condition? If you click yes, I'm going to click on no. And if you notice, I don't have that ESY services form anymore. It's gone. So that's how you can get rid of that form as well if the student does not have ESY. If the student does have ESY, you would need to go back, and this is the trigger, is the number 5 question. If you click yes, that form will appear. If you click no, the form will not show up. All right.
Michael, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can you batch print the IEP at a glance for your entire caseload?
Yes, you can. Okay, I'm sorry, I should have showed you that as well. So you can batch print a lot of your forms here. So if you go to tools and then you go to labels and batch forms, we have this changed a little bit as well. So it's labels and batch forms. These are to create labels. So you actually have to click on the tab that says batch forms. And then here you have all the forms that you can actually create batch forms for. You can do it for your goals. You can do it for your IEP at a glance right here. So if you want to do it for your IEP at a glance, you can either append the goals, behavior plan, what have you, and then all you do is create batch forms when you're done right here. And so once you create batch forms, it's going to load. Depending on how many records you have, it might load for a little while. And then once it's done, it is going to show down here. You're going to scroll down and it's going to show what you downloaded, and it's going to timestamp it. You can tell I did this one on August 11th. I think that was it might have been the last training I had. I don't know. And then you just click on download and it would download all of them for you. And it would be for every single student that is on your caseload, or every single student. If you have a district, it'll be every single student in your district. There's ways to query out if you just want to do it for your second graders. You can go and query out just your second graders, and then once you have a found set, you can just print out that found set. But there's a lot of capabilities in that. But that's where you would do it here. It's tools, labels and batch forms, and then you have your IEP at a glance. You create batch forms, scroll down, and then it'll show up down here when it's downloaded. Okay.
We had one more question, Michael, on
Yes.
the behavior intervention plan.
Yes.
There was an issue where it was defaulting to yes. Just what you showed us, how it was optional, how you were trying to clear it. The person is asking if that was fixed. There was a issue with it defaulting to yes.
I don't remember that issue. It shouldn't default to yes unless the previous year you had it on yes. And the only way that it would default to yes that I can think of, maybe there was a form problem. Steve usually deals with the problems that are in the forms, so he might know more about that, but I wasn't aware of that. But the only other area I can think of is if you go to student info and then discipline, if you have it marked yes here, then it'll automatically show up there as required. And so there's kind of two places that if you click here, it'll automatically show up yes. But also you want to make sure on that demographic form that it has it marked as no. But that's, I'll have to talk to Steve about that. It should be fixed. I haven't heard of that. I think I would have heard of that in the last week or so. But I don't recall that. So I'm hoping it fixed. If it not, please email me. Feel free to email me. I'm actually, Jennifer, if you want to put my email into the chat for me, and then people can email me directly or they can email support, either way. Okay. All right. So the next new form that I want to go over, if you notice, we have this new emergency conditions provision form. So this form was created, well, because of COVID-19 and the school closure. And so now this is a required form. This is not something that we wanted to put in. This is required by the state. They force some of these things on you. So it's not like we're trying to make your life miserable. This is something that is required by the law. There was a new law on July 1st that talked about emergency conditions provisions, and basically what it states. You guys can go through and read this, but I'll just give you my point of view of it, and interrupt me, Jennifer, if I'm wrong, but basically this is saying that if a school, if you ever stop services or provide services for a student during a school closure, after 10 days, on the 11th day, you have these emergency conditions that you have to, that are required, that you have to provide services by means of distance learning. And so they go through and they define what distance learning is. And so it's right here how the state defines it. It says distance learning means instruction in which the pupil and instructor are in different locations. Distance learning may include, but is not limited to, all of the following. And so this is what distance learning includes. There's 3 little categories here. All right, so you guys will have to read these categories and kind of understand what they mean, because you're going to be using these. So for distance learning, this means that it's interaction, instruction, and check-ins between teachers and pupils through the use of computer or communications technology. So that is one mean of instruction for distance learning. Next, we have the video audio instruction, in which primary mode of communication between pupil and certificated employee is online interaction, instructional television, video, telecourses, and so on. The third one is the use of print materials incorporating assignments that are subject of written or oral feedback. All right, so those are the 3 means of delivery for distance learning. Now you're going to use those 1, 2, and 3 down here. And so what this is saying down here is distance learning means of delivery to the extent feasible. Do any of the following apply? If yes, describe how they'll be delivered. And so automatically special education related services is checked off yes, because the student is in special ed. If the student didn't have any services, they wouldn't be in special ed. All right, so this is asking, how are you going to, what are the means of delivery that you're going to have for distance learning for the related services? And you get the options of 1, 2, or 3. And it can be 1, 2, and 3. Or it can just be 1 and 3. It can be any combination that you'd like. But you guys are going to have to define that on what means of delivery you're going to be able to provide based on the services that the student has. And you choose 1, 2, or 3, or a combination of any of those. The next one we have is the supplementary aids and services. Most students all have supplemental aids and services. That's automatically checked yes. You can check no on this if you need to. But you do the same thing. The distance learning means of delivery. How are you going to deliver supplemental aids and services? You're going to do it by 1, 2, or 3 from these above right here. Now, the transition to adult life services. I think at 15 students have transitioned to adult life services. Not every student has this. So if the student is 15 or older, you would check yes, and you would mark the appropriate boxes. If the student is not of transition age, then you check no and you don't fill anything out. The next one is extended school year. Not every student qualifies for a ESY. We just did the worksheet on this student and they didn't qualify, so I would check no. Okay. If they did qualify, you check yes and you put in the means of how you're going to deliver distance learning. And then at the bottom here, and these are for comments of, you know, anything other than what was discussed right here would go down here. If you guys scroll up to the top of this form, we have this blue question mark. If you click on the blue question mark, it tells you about this emergency conditions provision form. And then it kind of goes through and it can give you an example of what would be in this comment section. You're not limited. I just want to be clear because we hardly ever do this. We hardly ever put like examples of what to put in certain boxes because we don't want to limit or think, we don't want to limit people what to put in the box. or think they have to put something in that box that's just like this. You don't. This is just an example, but it can be extended to anything that you need to put in that box. This is just an example that you can look at. So you guys have that up here in this blue question mark when you open up the form. So
Well,
then you fill out
there's a few questions
okay.
on this form when you're ready.
Yes, I'm ready here.
So the first question asks if there is one supplementary aid, more than one supplementary aid or service, how do you differentiate between each within one space on that form?
You don't have to differentiate between the services. It's kind of in general, I believe. It's kind of vague. There wasn't too much guidance from the CDE or the state on how to complete the form or even how to create the form. And so there was extensive research done and I don't know if Santa Barbara was part of it, but I know Ventura was part of it, that they created this form. They had lawyers involved. And so they made it kind of more vague for a reason. But I guess if you have more than one supplementary aid, you would put in the means of delivery of how you would do the one. And then you would also include, if it's different, the means of delivery, how to do the other one. And so if that includes 1 and 2 or 1 and 2 and 3, you have to you would make sure that you would put all of these that include these supplementary aids. If there's more than one, let's say the first service, you're only going to be doing number 1, but the second service, you're going to be doing number 2. And then you might do number 3 on the second service as well. But these two don't necessarily mean that you have to do that means of delivery for the first service. It's just all the services combined. How will you guys be able to provide, what means of delivery are you going to provide for all those services combined? I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
If there is a need, sorry, my questions are jumping. If schools are to reopen, do we need to amend this form? And my answer would be no. This is a notice just sharing if there's an emergency when we have a school closure. This is how the student will continue their services.
So
is that correct?
Yeah, and this form will be required to be filled out within the student's next annual or triennial IEP that they have. And so SIRAS will make it required for an annual or triennial. That is a requirement from the state is giving us, that you don't have to do an amendment for all of your students just to put this form in. Just the next time they have an annual or the next time they have a triennial, this form will be required and you must fill it out. If the next IEP that the student has is going to be an amendment, if you happen to remember, this is going to be an optional form in the amendment. If you happen to remember that this form is there and you want to fill it out during the amendment, that's fine. You can fill that one out and get it over with. And then it'll still be required at the next annual, but I believe it's going to be pre-filled with whatever you put in there before. And if things change, then you would have to fill that form out. But this is going to be required for the next annual or triennial for every single student. And like I said, don't freak out. You do not have to do an amendment to get every student with this form. Even if their next annual is not due for another 8-9 months, just wait the 8-9 months, and that's when you're going to fill out the form for them.
So this is also used for an initial as well and a review 30-day, correct?
Yes, it'll be required for initial as well. Yes.
The comment area, my understanding, Michael, is when you gather input from the parent regarding how the student learns in a distance learning environment. So it would be, how would the student learn outside of a school setting? And you would ask the family that information. How is it going? Are there things that I and the staff that work with the student need to know about the student in order to support their needs?
Yes.
That's my understanding for the comment area.
Yes, and there's some wording up here with the definition of distance learning, it says distance learning may include, but is not limited to all of the following. So this is the following, the three, but it says it's not limited to these three. So if there's other means of delivery that you've discussed with the parent, other than these three, then that needs to be listed down here in the parent and IEP team comments as well.
We have a couple questions, and I think I can answer this one. Can SELPA create a form in SIRAS for the distance learning plan that schools are required to have filled out by the end of September? So each district is different in that matter, and so there should be guidance from your district special education department regarding the distance learning plan. Many of our districts are creating prior written notices, and there are some templates on our SELPA website that support distance learning plan ideas. And then all of our special education directors have been given examples, and they are happy to help support the guidance with those distance learning plans. And so many districts are doing prior written notices as well as a distance learning plan for special education. But this is an emergency provisions plan that will accompany that annual, initial, triannual, 30-day review. And it's kind of considered a notice of if the school closes down due to an emergency, this is how the education will continue per the IEP. Okay.
Okay. All
Can
right.
I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Ask a quick question.
Okay.
Hi. Regarding the distance learning plan, is that something that we're supposed to give all parents eventually, or how does that work? I'm not clear on that. Is that just about triennials, or is that about for all students are supposed to get that?
So again, I'm going to just share that that distance learning plan is specific to each district. And so the district will have guidelines per your special education director. And so if you have any questions on that, I can't answer them because each district is creating theirs differently. And so I would circle back to your special education director, and they can advise you on those plans and how
Okay.
and where those should go.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to go over our new forms, meeting participation and consent. But before, I have to create some goals here because I want to finalize the meeting and everything for you. So bear with me. I'm just going to open up this form. And just to show you, you guys can create annual goals this way. You guys can just actually type right onto the form and make a goal. And then you just click on save and return. So you can do it that way, or you can go to the goals developer and you can create the goals in the goals developer. You can see the one that I created on the form is there. We have this new goal wizard, or it's not new, but we have this create new goal with goal wizard. And we have a create new blank goal. This is how we prefer you to create the goals and not just open up the form and fill it out. If you want to create your own goal and just type it, we'd rather you come to this goals developer and create a new blank goal. Because it has the associated service here, you can put the associated service. That goes with our service logs. You can put the area of need, the responsible discipline, and then you can still type out your baseline and type out your goal here. And then we also have the create a new goal with goal wizard. This actually, if you do this, this is all in drop downs. SIRAS will translate everything into Spanish if you use our drop downs. But just quickly how to show you this. The target date is automatically 1 year from the meeting date. You click on your setting and you put in your conditions. And then we actually have now over 33,000 behaviors in here. So you can filter through your behaviors. Let's say it's math. You can do the Common Core standards, mathematics. You can go through a category, you can find a grade level, and then you can choose the behavior here. And then you actually do the goal. What will the student be able to do within that at the end of the year? Say we want them to do 80% for so many consecutive trials, and it's teacher-made test. And then the baseline is given that behavior, what can they do now? And maybe they can do 35% each time we give it to them. And then we assemble the goal. I can put my trials in here. Let's say out of 3 consecutive trials. And now I want to show you guys this area. You can put the associated service and the responsible discipline. But I want to show you this area here. Do you see SIRAS? SIRAS will translate everything in a drop down. If you notice that 3 consecutive trials, I actually had to type it in. And so if you want this to completely translate into Spanish, you guys are going to have to be your own translator. And I've gotten really good at translating these. So you guys can be really impressed. But do you see those little lines? I just put a 3 there, and then I can change it back to English. And it's a 3 there. All right, save and close. And so now when you translate it into Spanish, it'll have that 3 there rather than those dots. That's just something little that you can do that can help out the translator if they're translating the rest of the IEP. Just make sure you translate the little number if you have consecutive trials or anything like that. Click on the Spanish real quick, fill that number out, and then go back to the English and save it. All right.
Michael, we have a question about dates.
Yes.
For the next annual IEP in SIRAS, there's been a question of the date for the next annual.
Okay.
With SELPA. So is it the actual day or is it the day before?
Well, I don't know how to do it, but Brian does it all the time, but it's 365 days. So if you put like August 5th in an Excel sheet and you count how many days till the next August 5th, it's 365. And so it is the actual day. It's not necessarily the day before. But you guys should not be waiting till the very last day, hopefully. That's at least not on all your IEPs, but some of them. But it is a full 365 days, and so it is from 8.5 to 8.5, and that's what the state guidelines are. And so we are within the state guidelines, and you will not get an overdue, except on a leap year. We came to find out now. In a leap year, it's 366 days or something because there's an extra day in February. So that kind of made everybody on a leap year every 4 years, made them overdue late for 1 day. But I don't know if I think the CDE might have taken that into account and changed it. I'm not too positive. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but
Okay.
we do get errors if it's on the day of and not the day before. Just heads up on CalPads.
On CalPads?
For last year, I don't know if that was a leap year, but even in SACE, I think we would get it if we did it before.
It was a leap year this last year.
But I remember in SACE we had the same. Just heads up, it would be safer to do it the day before.
Okay. Yeah. If you guys want to change it and do the day before, that would be perfectly fine. But yeah. All right. So I did the goals. I'm going to open up the goals page and just save it so it'll be done with. All right. And so now we have these 2 new forms, the meeting participation and the consent for placement. So before, we had the consent and the participation on the same page. And that worked out fine with meetings that were in person, because if the parent didn't want to sign consent that day and you're going to continue the meeting, everybody signed the participation, and then, it's a document in that you can scan and upload into SIRAS, And then when you had the next meeting, you would just print out a fresh document and have the parent sign that consent instead. It didn't quite work out that way when we did the electronic signatures. So we had some issues with that we didn't really realize. And so now, to make it more clear, we separated the meeting participation and the consent for placement. And so the meeting participation, let's say you have the meeting, this afternoon. You can send out the meeting participation without meeting held being checked. And so you can open up this form, and even if the provider that sends it out in that morning wants to sign it that morning already, type in your name and sign it. They can go ahead and sign it, or you guys can sign it at the IEP itself. But you can send this to the parent, like maybe just before the meeting, to let them know they can sign the meeting participation. And then you open up and save, or you save and return here. And then you also have the consent for placement. So if you notice here, I'm going to go back to the meeting participation. Participation, the first two are for the parents. So the parents will sign the participation, and the entire IEP team will sign the participation. Okay. And then when you do the consent form, the only one that signs it and initials are the parent. The parent's the only one that signed this form. And so there's no more providers listed on here. So the parent signs the consent once the meeting is completely finished. Okay. So you will not be able to send a link for the consent form until meeting held has been checked. Okay. You can send the meeting participation form at the beginning of the meeting and have everybody sign it. But you cannot send the consent form until you've actually checked meeting held and the meeting's done and over with. So let me go over the first scenario. You have your first meeting participation was sent, everybody signed it. You check meeting held. And now when you check meeting held, if you notice, the parent response automatically goes to awaiting consent. Verbal consent is not consent. So if you're on a Zoom meeting and the parent says, "This is the greatest IEP I've ever seen in my life. I love it. You're an amazing provider and you're awesome. And I've never seen anything like this. Of course I agree." That doesn't mean anything until you get a signature. They can say whatever they want. So unless you have a hard signature, either electronic or a wet signature, you have to do awaiting consent. And then you click on confirm. Once you do that and it's awaiting consent, now you can send this consent for placement form out to the parent to get signed. Once you get the signature back and they agree, that's when you can change it to accepts the plan. If you notice, accepts the plan says signed consent next to it, because an IEP, you cannot, verbal consent is not consent. You cannot start implementing an IEP unless the parent signs an agreement. Is there a way to not be able to finalize a meeting with parent response? You shouldn't be able to finalize a meeting with awaiting consent. I'm not going to try it right now because it might ruin the things I got going on. But if you can actually finalize a meeting that says awaiting consent, let me know, because that's wrong. You shouldn't be able to finalize a meeting with awaiting consent. The only way you should be able to finalize a meeting is through accepts the plan, does not accept the plan, partial consent, or partial consent, agree to goal. All of these you can finalize the meeting with. The only ones you shouldn't be able to finalize is awaiting consent. So if that's happening, let me know, and I will change that.
Michael, you have one more question.
Yes.
Is there a way to disable the signatures of the team on the report of assessment form?
Report of a, is this on a pre-meeting? Is it the notice of reassessment? What is the?
Ivan, are you able to be a little more specific on that? Is that assessment report section?
On the assessment reports here? Okay, and which one? Does it matter which one?
Disable the signatures of the team on the report of assessment form. The user is saying I upload the PDF of our team and then it adds an extra step.
Okay, so as far as these signatures right here,
Ivan, do you want to unmute yourself and explain a little further?
Not quite understanding.
I don't know if he's gonna. Let's see, assessment report section on page 2, he's saying.
Yeah, so basically under the assessment report section, there's a section on page 2 where everybody has to sign. And we typically will upload a PDF of all of our team reports. But on what I noticed is on there's some signatures that you have to save in order to proceed.
On here, you don't necessarily need to sign on here. You can just ignore the signatures here.
Okay.
You don't need to sign. If you click on save and return, if there's an orange form warning or anything about signatures, I don't really see any. I don't see anything, but you can ignore. This will not stop you from finalizing the IEP. So you don't necessarily have to disable them, but you can ignore those signature feature on that, and then you can just upload your document that you need to upload.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. So now that's in a perfect world. Meeting held, awaiting consent. You send this out to the parent for consent. They agree. You change this to agree, and you finalize the meeting. And that's how normally 99.9% of your meetings go, right? Wrong. So what usually happens is you continue a meeting. And so I'm going to show you how we are able to continue a meeting now. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck meeting held. Okay. So when you first go to a meeting, you send out the notice of meeting to the parent, right? And you can click on the manage links. So you can click on the manage link, send a link out to the parent. I'll go over that in just a minute. Okay, then you have your meeting, right? You send the participation form. Parent signs this participation form. It says the date was 8/5/2020. That's when we had our first meeting. So they sign, just pretend the parent signed here and the whole team signed on this page. We're all good. Now, they're not going to sign the consent page because first off, we can't send it to them because meeting held wasn't checked. And second, they're not going to consent because we're going to continue the meeting. So here's how you're going to continue the meeting. You're not going to check meeting held. You're going to click here where it says add contact attempt or continuation. And when you do that, it goes to meeting continuation right here. And it's going to, Cyrus is going to guess what day you want. And basically the guess is like 6-7 days, a week later. And so if it's not going to be an exact week later, you can change it. And let's say I'm going to do it. It was on the 5th. I'm going to do it on the 7th.
Michael, can you jump back and show us where you found that meeting event box?
Yes, so it's right here next to the scheduling notes. It says add contact attempt or continuation. Yeah. So if I click here, it brings up that box. And just to show you, if you contact the parent about anything, if you check the parent contact guardian, you can actually put in a contact attempt and kind of keep track of all your contact attempts to the parent. You can put the day you contacted them, the time, how you contacted them by phone, email, letter, or in person, and you can write any notes too. You click save, and it says parent contact attempt. But then let's go back to the continuation. It goes to meeting continuation. Let's put it for the 7th. Let's say it's going to be at 3 p.m. And say it's going to be another virtual meeting. And scheduling notes is, I don't know, continued from 8:05, ran out of time. I don't know, you'd put whatever note you want to put in there for that. You click on save, and now you have a meeting continuation put in there. So now that you've continued the meeting, you would go to the pre-meeting forms, and now you have this notice of meeting continued. So when I open up this form, if you notice now, it's the notice of meeting, and it has the date 8/7, the continued meeting date, and it's at 3 o'clock. I didn't put an end time, but it's a virtual meeting. And if you notice, it says this is a continuation of the meeting begun on 8/5/2020. You fill this out, you save and return. You can send this link home to a parent for them to sign. And again, I'll go over that in just a second. All right, now you go back to the basic IEP forms. Now we're ready for it's 8/7, and now the day has come, you're meeting with the parents. So now you're gonna send that meeting participation again, because now it's a new meeting. But what happens now, this meeting participation form is already filled out. So what are we gonna do? We can click on at the very top, it says add page. When I click on add page, it'll add another second page to this. And notice that now it has the student information. It says the date 8/5/2020, but now below it, it says 8/7/2020. Continuation meeting date is 8/7/2020. So now everybody signs this participation form. All right. And you can send it to the parent. Let's pretend everybody signed now, including the parent, because everybody showed up. You save and return. Now I have both forms. If you notice, there's one additional page here. Both forms for that first meeting. I have participation signatures, and I have the second meeting for participation signatures. All right, and let's go through the meeting and everything. And you know what? We ran out of time again. This is very litigious, and it's the longest meeting ever. And so we're going to continue it one more time. So what are you going to do? You're going to come back up here and add a continuation right here on this link. Now, you're not going to check meeting held. And I want to show you, if you do check meeting held, it says, if the meeting will be continued, please do not indicate meeting held yet. And it has this add continuation meeting date. This isn't how we suggest you do it, but if you forget, if you click right here, it brings up that same box. And notice it didn't make the check mark for meeting held, because we're only checking meeting held when it's completely finished. So now I'm going to continue the meeting on 8/14. Let's do 3 p.m. again. And you can put any notes you want, click on save. Okay, so now I have this second one in here. Next thing you'll do is you're going to go to the notice of meeting continued form. If you click on this, in the training, we don't have it yet, but there would be an add page right here. That would be just like the one that's on the participation. When you click on add page, it's going to bring in the new meeting date for 8/14, and it's going to say begun from 8/5. You would save and return that form. And then you'd go over to the basic IEP forms. You're going to send out this meeting participation form. But I only have it for this first meeting on 8/5, the second meeting on 8/7, and I need to add a page for the next one. And when I add the page, if you notice, the continuation meeting date went to 8/14. And now everybody will sign that continuation date for the meeting. And so now I have all three meeting participation forms for all three separate meetings. Then I'm going to hit save and return. And now when the parent finally consents after the third meeting, you can check meeting held. And we always do a waiting consent until we get a signature. Okay. We can put that the parent attended. And then here, I'm going to show you how to send out the links. And so this is going to be the same for every single form. And so whether it's going to be the pre-meeting form, it has this manage links, or the meeting participation form, or the consent form. All right, so to send these links out, you would click on manage links for the next to the form that you want to send. And this is the consent form, so I want to send it to the parent. It'll automatically put the parent's name in here and their email. And then it's asking the email subject is saying request signature for consent for placement. Cyrus puts all this information in there for you. And then you're going to put in a reply to email. And so this is going to be your email address. Okay. And so when you send it to the parent, if the parent actually replies to this email you're sending them, the email is not going to come to Cyrus, it's actually going to come to you. So the parent could actually reply to the email that you're sending to them, and it would actually reply to whatever email you put in this box here. All right, so then I'm going to create the link. So this is the message that's going to be sent to the parent. This is the link right here. And look here, we have a video tutorial as well on how to do the signatures for them. They can click on that and watch the video tutorial. But then the only thing that you would need to do next is click on send email. You click on send email, that's going to send that link to the parent. And then you just wait for them to open that link up and sign. You can notice, if you heard that, that was my email because it just got sent to me. All right. So if you want, let's see, what time is it? We start at 1:30. 2:30. Okay. Okay, so I have a little bit of time. I'll actually show you guys. Let me see here.
Are you able to show how to email progress notes to parents?
I will. I'll go over that. Yes. Yes. So let me show you here. I am going to open up Firefox here. I'm going to paste the link in my URL to show you what the parent's going to receive. So when the parent clicks on that link, this is what they're going to see. And they can click on here, initial, and it's all highlighted in yellow for them. And they would initial there. And then once they initial one time, this is normally what parents do, is they click on everything and it'll initial automatically for them. So they only initial one time and they're good to go. All right, and then the next thing they're going to do is come down here and they're going to sign. All right, I'm going to click sign. And that's that. And now they can't just close out of this. They actually have to click on this little button up here that says save and close. So once they click save and close, it says your data has been saved. Thank you. You may close the window. So now I'm going to just close this out. And I'm going to go, as a provider, I can go up to the form now, open it up, and you can see there are my initials and there's my signature. It almost happens automatically. And so now I got the parent signature back. I can click on save and return. Since I got the signature and they agreed, I'm going to change this to accepts the plan. And then I am ready to finalize the meeting. Okay. Do you guys have any questions on that new process? I know that's a lot to probably take on. There's a lot of new things that we've done here, but I think the continuation meeting process is going to be clearer for you guys once you guys get the hang of it, and being able to document all the different meetings that you have and having participation for each one of those, and then only having one consent form when they actually finally consent.
Michael, we have a few questions, if you don't mind me asking you right now. This might be a good time for a minute. We have a question about when a parent digitally signs the assessment plan. Shaylin, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, okay, so Michael, on the pre-meeting, Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you went right there. There's the feature that like you can fill it out and then send it for them to sign digitally.
Yes.
So recently I've noticed that it'll do that and it'll capture the date when they sign it. But then when I go in and like print it, if you click on it again and go in and print it, whatever date you go in, it like changes the date at the top of the form. So if you go into the form, you just clicked on it. The date at the very top where it says the date there, it'll change the form. It'll change the date to the day that I go in and look at it, not the date the parent signed it. So it doesn't change the signature date. I've noticed it leaves that the same, but no matter what date I go in to take a look at it, like I look at it later or whatever, if I go to print it, it makes me save it first. So like the print feature says you have to download and save first. When you do that, it changes the date at the top of the form to whatever date you've gone in. So even though the parent signed my assessment plan in July, I went and printed it in August, and it changed the date at the top to August date that I went in and printed it. And I noticed it does that on the notice of referral as well. If you go into notice of referral, it'll change the date to whatever date you look at it. So I don't know if that's a glitch or if that's something we can change. When I printed it, I just whited it out and like put the date the parent signed it instead. It does keep the sign date consistent. So like on page 2 where the parent signs,
Yeah.
and on the bottom of the front page 2 where you put the date, like date received by the district, I put the date I received it, and the parent, you know, entered the date they signed it. That stayed the same. It's just the date at the top will change to whatever date you look at it. And also notice of referral, it changes the date on notice of referral if you were to go in and look at it at a later date and print it. It's when I go to print it.
You gotta print it. Okay.
So like if you click, yeah. So that's just kind of odd because then it makes it not consistent when they signed it. Like if I print it on August 3rd, but they signed it, you know, July 6th, it makes it look like it was later. I mean, it's not a huge deal. I printed it. I just whited it out and put the date the parent signed it.
This is for, okay. I'll have to look into that. If you don't mind, would you email me a quick email explaining that to michael@sirassystems.com?
Sure, I can do that.
And then I'll look into that. I'm not seeing it on our training version, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be doing it on our live version.
I mean, I haven't noticed it with any of the other forms. I just noticed it with the assessment plan, the prior notice, and then also like the notice of referral, if you do one of those.
Okay.
The notice of referral is a little more awkward just because there's not, like, the parent doesn't sign that form, but it'll change the date to whatever day you go in to print it, even though the notice of referral. So like this kid, I don't think they have notice of referrals if it's like a child that's already in the system, like if they have a triennial or something. I think
it's only with the initial
assessments.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wasn't a huge deal. I just whited out the date and put the appropriate date, but it's just kind of an odd little.
Yeah, no, if there's an issue with that, we can definitely fix that. That should be something easy to fix.
Okay, yeah, I'll just email you. That's fine. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Michael, a couple more questions here. Someone's asking a question about emailing the parent. If there are 2 separate emails, the invitations only allow for 1 parent email? Is there a way to get around that if there are 2 separate emails?
As far as on the pre-meeting forms?
On the meeting invitation, there's only allowance.
There's only 1. That's something that, I mean, we would have to bring up to you as a SELPA. I know that like for the referral notice or anything like that, you only need 1 parent's signature to agree for an assessment, to send out for a notice of the meeting. Usually 1 parent has the educational rights, or it's maybe 50-50, or maybe I don't know how you guys want to do it as a SELPA, but normally the way it is the parent, one parent, you only need one parent to sign.
So
and
you can't create another link?
You can create another link for the other parent as far as like the notice of meeting, and the parent comes back and signs it. There's only one signature space for one parent. So then if you send another link to another parent, it's going to override, it's going to send the other parent, and the signature is already going to be there from the other parent. And so they can override it, delete it, and then put their signature on it. But then you're going to lose the other parent's signature. So if you want to put two signature areas here on your form, then you can send it to both parents. But normally from what I've seen other SELPAs and what they're doing is you only need one parent signature for that. And it's usually the primary parent.
Correct.
But I mean, that's something, as Jennifer, if you want to bring that up, if you guys want to change that, I mean, I'm sure we can totally add, one more parent line for a signature, and then you can send it to the notice of meeting to both parents.
I definitely have made note of that, and I will have a discussion with our directors about that to see if that's a need.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, moving forward, Michael, how do we get notified when a parent responds? Are we only sending one link at a time? So
Well,
is there a security knowing that they have responded?
it is the way that you know that they've responded, and I can show you here. We have this tab here that's called link request. And these are the link requests that I've sent. And you can go to this form and you can see this one says completed, and it tells you, who the recipient was, the email that received it, what form it was, the date that this link expires, who created the link, and so forth. I can create another one just real quick just to show you here.
I did notice that even when it says complete, the parent may not have marked or indicated that they agreed. So technically we can't really accept, like legally, right? It's not legal without them checking the box. So sometimes it says complete, but it's not checked anywhere. So I don't know. I think you have to open the actual link to see what they marked.
You may have to look and see, yes, to see what they actually marked, because there's no way of telling, this one says 2 signatures here, that they actually have signatures and that it's completed. This one says it's pending and there's 0 signatures. And so if I mark this as if it was actually completed, it'll still say 0 signatures. And so that you can know that the parent didn't actually sign. But as far as notifying, we don't really have anything that would automatically send you a response back, like in your email or anything. The only thing that we have internally is, like I said, on the homepage, we have these incoming messages, and you can see right now the link receipt, the form input link that you sent to the parent for student, blah, 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 blah. It kind of timestamps it here, and it tells you when it was filled out. But that's on our homepage here on the incoming messages, that you can see that there. But that doesn't really tell you what they actually put on the form itself. So there's no way to really, if you want to know what they actually responded and what they signed to, whether they agreed or not, you would actually have to go and look at the form. But it will notify you that it was completed on the homepage, and you'll also be able to see it on this links request tab that they've completed it. But to see actually what they responded to, you would actually have to go to the form and look. And just open up the form and see exactly what they signed and everything.
While you're on this page, if the parent signs everything, which some of our families do, and and they don't really realize what they're signing, is there a way to erase and resend it?
We don't allow the providers to erase anything that the parent has done. They have to be responsible to do that. What we did put in place is that when you guys open up the form, we have these little NAs here. And if you put NA next to the signature area, it is not going to allow the parent the signature feature or the initial feature. So you can actually kind of guide the parent into what exactly they said on the, like if they agreed on the Zoom meeting, then you can fill these out and help guide them on what they need to fill out. And if you put NA right here, it's not going to be highlighted yellow like it was. It'll just be plain, and they won't have access to click on it to put an initial in there. So that's the only thing that we have really. You won't be able to change any of these. The only thing that you would be able to do is if you've already sent out this form, you can go to the links request, and then the parent, if they still have the email, they can use the same link to edit that form as long as the link is not expired. Okay, so this one expires on 9/8. If it's going to be expired, then what you would do is you would click on this edit resend. If you click on edit resend, it's going to bring it up here, and it's got the form and everything, puts the information there, and you just send it again. And the parent would receive that link again. They would go in, and they would actually have to go into the form, click on the area that they want to delete, clear out their initial. So they would click on the initial that they didn't mean to put there, and it would pop up that box, and there's a clear, there's an area where you can clear it. I'll show you here. So this would be basically, if I'm the parent here, they would click on the signature here. There's a clear signature right here. You click OK. And then you can close out. So that would clear the signature there. The parent has that same ability, and it would be the same thing for their initials as well. They would click on their initial, clear it out, and then close the box. Okay. All right. Any other questions on this area here?
I think we have them all taken care of.
Okay.
Did you want to show the progress report?
Yes, I'll show the progress reports now. So to access the progress reports, you can go to student info, data collection and progress, and progress report. All right, so here's the student's progress report. And you want to send that to a parent. We have this send progress report link up here for the parent. And so if you click on this link, and it's the same process basically. You click on the parent's name, it automatically fills the information, create a new link, it puts in the progress report link for them, and then you just click on send email. And then that would send that link to the parent. I'm going to copy the link address here. What the parent would do, they would click on that link, and there's the student's progress report. This is what the parent would see as far as the progress report for them. And it has the student's progress here. They can print it out if they wanted to, and they have that information available to them right there. Okay. This link does expire as well. So I think they have like maybe 2 weeks or something to get the progress report and print it out if they wanted to. But you can send this link out, every single quarter or semester, whatever you guys are on. And it's an accumulative progress report. So if they didn't have the link to the very first progress report, the third progress report link that you send out is going to have all 3 progress reports included in it. So if they didn't want to print the first, second, and third one, they want to print the very last one when it's all together, then they can just print that very last one when you send them that link. Okay. All right. Any more questions on the progress? All right, let's see, we're starting up. Okay. I want to show you guys one more thing. I'm going to go back to the demo here.
Michael, when you have a minute, I just have a question on the parent consent area one more time.
Yes, what is that? I can go there now.
If you can go there. Sorry. Okay, so Annie, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Sure. So if you're looking at parent consents, that section where it says, I agree with the determination of my child's eligibility, or where you have your mouse,
Yes.
there's number one, number two, number three. You can't make any of those NA because obviously the parent has the right to choose any of those following options. But
Yes.
sometimes the parents will they'll initial all 3 boxes because they're not reading, right? So that I think is one of the issues where, I mean, we could send it back to them and try to get them to understand, but I've not successfully done that. Parents can't understand that, like, oh, they're only supposed to get one of them. So I was just wondering if there's a way to do, if there's anything you can do about that, because they'll sign all 3, but obviously those are competing ideas. Those are contradictory statements.
I don't know how to address that. I mean, we can put NAs here.
Right, you can't.
I just don't know if we, if your SELPA wants to do that, we can do that, but I just don't know if that's the right thing to do.
Well, that doesn't seem like it would be appropriate, because the parent should have the right to say that I understand and consent except for, or to have the right to say I decline. So I understand you can't really put NAs there. I'm just wondering what we should do in that circumstance. Should we just print it out blank and resend it? I mean, and send it for them to sign at home and just highlight, like, I mean, that's one of the issues. I think somebody else was speaking about that earlier, and you were saying we can't, as the providers, clear that out, which I understand why, but that is an issue.
No, I don't know how to address that issue. And
I mean,
the technology that we have now, some parents aren't really as savvy as others. And so to get them to understand and do all that is a pain. But I mean, if you have any suggestions on what we can do, but I mean, I don't think we can allow you guys to clear those signatures out for the parent, because that may come back on you, and it's going to timestamp your name on clearing that out.
Sure.
And if litigation ever comes down to it, then the parent can claim that you're the one that did it and not them. So it's a very hard situation, because it's new technology. A lot of parents don't understand it. So I
was just going to say, a lot of people are saying, like, call the parent, explain it. And that works with a lot of parents. There are some that are Spanish speaking. I don't speak Spanish, so I don't have somebody to do that for me. I think probably printing it out and flagging the appropriate box, as Candace said, is probably the best idea. But
maybe if you do send a link, maybe you also send them, maybe you print it out and send them an attachment with a blank one that's filled out that shows them which one to do it.
Michael, really fast, Cindy had a really good idea that is there a possible way to make it so that the form only allows you to sign one of those? Like, if I initialed, I understand and consent to the contents of this IEP, I shouldn't be able to initial number 2 and 3. Like, or if I initial number 2, I shouldn't be able to initial number 1 and 3 because they're contradictory ideas. So could the system prevent that from happening if they initialed number 1?
I think we'd have to really talk about that and figure all of that out with Michael and his team. And that could be something to consider.
Okay, thank you.
You got my mind going now, but it could be possible. I don't know how to do it with the signatures, but maybe there's something we can do to where if they sign one, and then they sign this one, then it blanks this one out. And then if they sign this one, it blanks this one out. And it only allows them to sign one of them. And if they sign another one, it blanks that, you know, it only allows them, it only puts up the current one that they sign. I'll have to think about and see how I can do that. But that's interesting. Let me figure that one out. So I think that I'll have to come back to that.
Something to discuss for sure.
Yeah.
We have a few additional questions. Michael, do you want me to ask them?
Yes, please.
Okay. For the final progress report, if you open a new meeting before finalizing the old goals, you lose the opportunity to update. Is that correct?
No. So I've opened up this meeting right here. And if you notice when I go to the progress reports, it has the 2 goals for writing and math. These 2 goals, if you go to the goals developer, so when you're opening up an annual or triennial or initial, you're creating the goals and the goals in development. And so if you notice, I have 3 of them in here. I have 2 goals, the writing and the math, that are in current. So you can create new goals that are in development for this in development IEP right here. SIRAS will not let you finalize this meeting, because what finalizing this meeting does, as accepts the plan, it not only moves all the data over to the MIS summary page, but it'll also update the goals. And I'll show you this in just a second here. But if you notice on the goals developer, the current goals, whatever's in current goals right here is going to be in the current progress report. And so if I do final progress, yes, they met this goal on this one. And then let's say I do no on this one, you can put in the reason why they didn't meet this goal. And maybe the school closure affected the progress. And then you have a chance or an opportunity to keep and revise this goal. So if I click on keep and revise, it's going to make a copy of that goal, this exact goal, into my goals in development. And so if I wanted to keep this goal, I check this. If I don't want to keep this goal, then I don't need to keep it. I don't click this. But if I do, I click keep and revise. It's going to say, are you sure you want to copy this goal? And if I say okay, it keeps that goal here. There's still a copy. But if I go back into goals in developer, if you notice now, the 2 current goals are still there, the math one. And if you notice now, I have an extra math one here. And so it made a copy of that goal. And so now I would just go in and edit that goal and revise it a little bit to meet the needs for this next reporting period. And so now I want to show you here, now that everything's done, parent accepts the plan, I'm going to finalize this meeting. Yes, all forms are complete. Now when I finalize, everything gets put into current. So now this is the current IEP. It's no longer the in development IEP. And now that this IEP is current, that means these goals that I created are current. So now if I go to the goals developer, look at here, there's no more goals in the goals in development. They're all gone. They all went to here, those 4 goals in current. So now these are going to be the ones that are on my new progress report. So if you look at the archived goals, these are the goals that were archived that were in current. And so now if I go to the progress report, you can see now these 4 goals are now current because I finalized that meeting. And then I can still view my archived progress, which I don't have any here, but it'll view the archived progress, any links that I sent here, and anything in the document library that I have. So hopefully I answered your question and I didn't confuse you more, but you don't actually lose the progress or the ability to do final progress until you finalize the meeting that you had open. Okay. And then looks
Can you update archived goals?
You cannot, no. So if you need to update the archived goals, what you would need to do is you would need to put those goals that you need to update, you need to have your, you can either call me or you can call your district admin, and your district admin has the ability to move goals over. And so if they don't know how to do that, then they can call me and we can learn together. But basically what you would do is you start off with the current goals, because you don't want them to be part of the progress report, because whatever's in this current goals tab is going to be on the progress. And so I would start out moving these goals back into goals and development. And your admin has this ability to move goals to. So you can move to, and I'd put it to goals and development. And so now all 4 of these are back in goals and development, because I didn't want to mix them together. And so now I go to the archive goals, and I can move these back to current. And now that these goals are in current, I can go back to my progress report. And now the progress report shows those 2 goals. And now I can add progress, update, whatever I need to do. All right, I can add progress to this one. All right, and once I'm done, I can send that new link out to the parent, or I can print it out, whatever I need to do. And then I would go back to the goals developer. And since I'm done, let's say I forgot to do the very last progress report, but I already finalized the meeting, I moved them all back. I can either go through and I could start with these current goals, because I don't want to mix them together, and move them individually to archived, and then go to the goals and development and individually move them to current. Or only in this direction, we have this archive in advance. And what the archive in advance would do is move the current goals to archive and all the goals in development to current. And so when I check this, it says, are you sure? And now it moved all those goals back over. I don't have to do it individually. To move them back the other way, I have to do them individually. So I hope that makes sense. So now in the archived goals, where I go to student data collection and progress report, now I have my current goals, the 4 of them in here, and the archive progress. Well, it's not showing here, but I don't know why it's not showing. But it should have the archive progress here with the students' information there. All right.
Michael,
Any other questions here?
We had a question about the invitation page, the meeting invitation page.
Okay.
Would there be an option to add a page to that meeting invitation page?
So in the notice of meeting?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not too sure what you would need to add a page for. But I mean, we could, but I don't know what you would want to add.
If you wanted to do it to more than one parent.
We could add that. We could add that feature to add a page possibly. But then when you send the form, it would send both pages to each parent. You wouldn't be able to just send one individual one. And so then one parent would have to sign the first page and one parent would have to sign the second page. And then you get the one parent that clicks on the link and signs both pages. And so that can cause an issue. If we wanted to have both parents be able to sign, I think adding another signature area would probably be the best bet, rather than confusing them with adding another page. But again, I'm going to leave that up to your SELPA, and have them decide on what they want to do with that. I know it's hard enough to get one parent signature, and I know that's all you need. So getting both parent signatures on a notice of meeting or something like that, I don't know if that would be worth it to you to wait for both parents to return that signature. That's something you guys will have to discuss as a SELPA, and whatever you decide, we can definitely make that change and accommodate you. So I don't think that's the problem. I think it's just a matter of, how the SELPA and and how the committee wants to go about doing this. Because, I mean, there's a lot of considerations you have to take into account, especially parent signature. Like, how often do you get a parent signature? And now you're going to wait for 2 of them. You know, and then what if one parent agrees and one parent disagrees? And they don't want to do, you know, one parent agrees to the assessment, one parent doesn't. Well, you only need one parent to agree to an assessment. You don't need both parents. And so, you know, that may cause an issue. And so I think there's reasons why we have one signature. But if, like, again, that's going to be your guys' discussion at the SELPA level and your guys' committee. I would just only be able to advise on some, you know, situations that may occur.
I have it noted, Michael, to have a discussion with our directors about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, we have no problem adding it. That wouldn't be an issue whatsoever, whatever you want to decide. So, I mean, these are your forms basically. So you're the client. You guys tell us, and, you know, tell us to jump, we say how high. All right.
I know we are way out of time. We are way past our time. And I just want to thank Michael for being here. I know there are still a few things left to discuss. And I have a few people that I'm going to circle back with. SBCEO, I definitely will get back with you on something. And I will definitely ask these questions that you've proposed today. We are just so grateful that you came today, and so really grateful to Michael for giving us his time and just this help with moving through this new system and the new updates that are happening. And thank you all for saying thank you. We're just grateful that you are here today. We will be posting this on our YouTube site, hopefully in the next couple days. So for your staff that have not been able to attend today, please share this with them, because obviously the more that know about all of this, the better everyone will be. So again, thank you so much, Michael.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Right?
Great. All right. Thank you all, and we wish you a wonderful Tuesday and a very happy start of the school year. Take care.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.